Good morning, Dan and Amy. And Amy, Dean Angelo and I, a couple of police veterans, we're going to have a little conversation. As you know, Dean
Police
Angelo.
veterans, what, you do a ride-along and now you're a Chicago cop, huh?
He's the FOP president. I think he served as Chicago police officer for like 30 years. I did a ride-along with 9th District Commander Don Godsell. I'm not saying who of us, which one of us is kind of more street savvy, more of a decorated law enforcement official. I'm just saying we both are.
Uh-huh.
Dean Angelo, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning. So this story, I need you to help me understand. Black Lives Matter youth cancels protest after meeting with top cop. Other officials, Chicago police promised to meet monthly with a group of African-American students to work on improving race relations after that police-involved shooting in Mount Greenwood a couple weeks back. And so I mean, I understand the need to engage the community, but this kind of feels like Chicago police being held up by professional protesters a little bit and, frankly, catering to them. Am I wrong?
Well, you know, there's a lot of politics involved in this, and I'm better at supporting the officers that I work for, that I represent, than concerning myself with other organizations that don't have our officers' best interests at heart, you know, as demonstrated by, you know, their rhetoric and their chants and their signs when they come out and take over our streets. So, you know, that's a 35th Street and a City Hall issue. And, you know, my concerns and my constituents, you know, they come first.
Yeah, but don't you think just meeting with them gives them the sense of power over police officers?
Well, you know, I don't know what goes on, you know, in those meetings. These are high school kids from what I see in the article. But, you know, it gives them a seat at the table. And, you know, I don't see that there's a need for us to be at that table, that's for sure. And, you know, what goes on in those rooms and how those conversations, you know, proceed, I have no idea what, you know, what happens in those rooms or how they go about getting their agenda across. But it seems like they had some impact not only with the superintendent's office or the department, but also with Marist High School.
Now, what has the situation been like for Chicago police the last week dealing with some of the protests that have been rolling through the streets, particularly the downtown area? How has that impacted CPD officers?
Well, you know, the CPD officers are pressed every day out there with these protests. You know, there's a thin line of them, and they're being subjected to different rhetoric depending on the group that's out there. But we see a common thread running through the demonstrations, and, you know, with the demonstrators, it seems to be the same individuals. And this one has a little bit more of a national impact, I think, because of the results of the presidential election. But I do know that our officers are being taken care of around Trump Tower, where they're getting, you know, offers of food and drink. You know, they're getting water, they're getting coffee, and that's something we've not seen with any other demonstration from any other business owner or building owner, you know, throughout these last several months.
My friend that's out there every night said that Donald Trump set up a room for them inside the Trump Tower, you know, a safe space, so to speak. Well, a place where they can relax and take a break and get some food. Is that true?
Yeah, that's accurate. And,
no one's reporting on that.
Excuse me?
I said no one seems to be reporting on that.
No, you know, I saw a small blurb on it somewhere on the internet, and you know, one of the members forwarded it to me last night, and then I talked to a couple of different officers, and they you know, substantiated that you know, that room is there, and officers are able to take advantage of it. And again, you know, it's never happened anywhere else throughout all these other protests that anyone has made that type of extension to our members, and it's very well received.
So Rahm had a radio town hall last night, and he talked about police a little bit, and he said they have to earn uh, their stripes, as it were, and they don't. We don't want them policing. We want them to be part of the community. I'm not sure I understand what that means, but where does the relationship stand between the mayor and rank and file police right now as the city continues to post record homicide numbers?
Well, any city needs their police, and they need them to be effective. And like I've said several times for more than a couple of months, people were running campaigns historically on an anti-crime platform, and now we see politicians running on an anti-police platform to garner constituent support. So, as I've said many times, things are upside down. But when you have the numbers we have and you have the incidents we have occurring over and over again, 30-some people shot in a weekend's time, and the body count just piling up. I stated almost 2 years ago that we're on our way to 700 murders, and we're at 690 as of yesterday. At some point in time, you have to continue that measure that they did the other day, where they did more or less a sweep and they targeted these areas. That's proactive policing. That's where we need to go back to. It's not put everybody on the wall that's walking down the street with a backpack, because you got to remember, well, you were in the squad car, so now you know. These officers know these individuals in these areas that they patrol every tour of duty. So it's not like they just fall out of the sky and say, let's stop those 5 guys. They know those 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
They know what their activity is.
Yeah.
And it's that type of proactive policing that needs to come back. These ISRs need to go, by the way of the circular file. We need to get back to documenting street stops in a much more compact and express mode. The old contact cards. Maybe add a line or two to give the ACLU the data that they need to move their agenda forward, but you don't need to put a 2-page document or a double-sided document in front of every officer that puts a stop on any individual throughout their tour of duty. You're going to be doing 32 to 40, maybe 50, depending on your district of assignment every tour of duty, and that takes you away from patrol and having that proactive presence in the community, because now you're not on the street.
Well, and I got to tell you, too, from and a serious note, from my experience doing that ride-along, to your point, Dean, about the police know who they are looking at, right? And this is not in question. I mean, they make it real easy. You're riding along the street, and you got 4 or 5 guys flashing gang signs at police while they're driving by. So it's not like it's a real secret. So it's just a matter of empowering police to be proactive, as you suggest.
Exactly. Those 4 guys that are flashing signs should be getting searched, and they should be getting, suggested to move on to a different locale. And you can't do that with the restrictions that the department and the past administration with the department had put on these officers by accepting that document. It's not, the court mandated a collection of data. We understand that, but you don't need to have it that expensive. Nowhere throughout the state of Illinois is that type of an extended reporting needed for every time an officer conducts a stop, whether it's a traffic stop or a street stop. It's only in the city of Chicago, and our street stops are down overnight 80%. So the uptick in these emboldened violence that we see, and 2:30 in the morning and 8:30 in the morning shootings on the highways, and from all the corners of the city, is a byproduct of that type of restrictive measure, where you have to see someone involved in criminal behavior, or they have to completely fit a description of a call where someone witnessed them involved in criminal behavior, and that's the one guy you pull out of the pack and search and discuss his presence. Why are you here? Who are you? Those measures are so restrictive to proactive policing that you have corners that families can't go to if there's a corner store. You have populations that are being held prisoner in their own home because the criminal element feels like it's their corner. And again, as I hate to repeat, but as I've said several times before, and I think we talked about this when we sat down for our conversation, when you lose the corner, you lose the block, you lose the block, you lose the community. And we're seeing that throughout the city in some of our, well, maybe not throughout the city at this point, but in some of our most violent areas.
Yeah, as you said, it's upside down. He's Dean Angelo, president of Chicago FOP Lodge 7. Dean, thanks always for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening